Well, hey, Armory. We're doing another video. This is day 3, I think, of the Dwell series, the videos. And that Dwell concept, it just comes from that reading schedule that we handed out to you guys a while back, the bookmark. And and so we're going through the Gospel of Matthew together. It's going to lead us up to Easter. However, you might have noticed, if you have that reading schedule, that every Sunday it takes a little bit of a shift. It doesn't follow Matthew on Sundays. It actually jumps into a couple different Psalms, which is quite the treat. I love reading through the Psalms. It reminds me so much of that we can express our emotions to the Lord, and the good and the bad. But what I love about him is David, even when he's in the midst of something crazy and he's struggling with what's going on, he always comes back to the Lord, remembering that the Lord has been good to him, gracious to him, and will rescue him out of it. And so today's psalm is Psalm 23, which is a very famous psalm, maybe the most, or it's certainly one of the most famous. The Lord is my shepherd. And so that was this morning's reading. Now, if you haven't already read Psalm 23, I'd encourage you to just pause the video, go read it. Remember, these videos are to encourage you to have some reading time on your own in the morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you do it. But to read the passage, to think on it, reflect on it, and then respond to the Lord in prayer, or going out and doing something that the Lord was encouraging you to do. So take the time. This will literally, it won't even take you a minute to read it, but then take a little while longer to think on it, pray about it. What is the Lord showing you as we're reading through this together? So for me, there's so many familiar things about this psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. Those of you that went to summer camp, you know how I feel about shepherds and sheep. I'm not a good shepherd, okay? But the Lord is our shepherd, and He'll lead you through a variety of different scenarios. And the thing that it seems so very applicable to us right now, this concept of, even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. We are in this world, this pandemic world that we're living in right now. We're walking through a valley of the shadow of death. We're walking through some difficult times. It's upended many of our lives. It has taken the lives of many, and will probably continue to do so. So how do we make sense of that? How do we walk through a terrible time, not afraid of evil, not afraid of the difficulty necessarily? And it's because our good shepherd's going with us. He's with us. That's why we can face this unafraid, is because we know that God is with us. And so that's so encouraging. It's a comfort to David. It's a comfort to millions of Christians, billions of Christians over the years. But the thing that struck me for this morning was actually the last verse. And I don't know how many times I've read it, and maybe I've noticed this before, but in my Bible, there's a couple of little notations that say some of these words can be translated differently. And I actually really like them. So verse 6 reads, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Well, that word surely can also be translated as only. And then the word mercy, so only goodness and mercy, that word mercy could also be translated as steadfast love. So that could read, only goodness and steadfast love shall follow me all the days of my life. And why I like that translation, even though I like it as it is too, even though we're going through hard things, and David's the king of knowing hard things, right? Even though we can go through those, he will still say, and we can still say, only goodness and mercy, only goodness, steadfast love is going to follow me all the days of my life. Why? Because we know that God is good and that God is love. He's steadfast love. He is merciful. So surely, even though we could go through all kinds of hard things, surely God's going to follow me all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that word dwell, it's very, very apt for today and what we're going through. We even titled the schedule after it, right? Dwell, that concept of dwelling in the house of the Lord forever. To dwell is to live in. Okay, like you think of your dwelling, or you think of even that phrase we oftentimes use, or we say, I'm dwelling on the past, or I'm dwelling on this subject, something that you just think about constantly. You're kind of living in that moment, in that subject. I want to live in the house of the Lord forever. I want to dwell there. And yes, in a very literal way, we will live in the house of the Lord forever. But also in this sense, in like right now, not future after I die, but right now, I want to dwell in the presence of the Lord. I want that to be at the forefront of my mind. The thing that I'm constantly hearkening back to, dwelling on, is being with Him, being in His presence, for today and for forever. So, how we're going to go about that? We're gonna follow Him. We're gonna live for Him. We're gonna think on Him. We're gonna, in just a few moments, hopefully, we're gonna have a live stream church service where we're gonna be focused on who He is, and then I want to just dwell in that, in what we're learning and in what we're challenged with in that throughout the rest of the day. And so, let's dwell on the Lord. And I think that's the majority of what I got out of this morning. But I'd love to hear what you guys are getting out of your morning reading as well. So down in the comment section, make sure to write something in. What did you get out of this? What was something that stood out to you? So take a moment, write that in the comments, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for day 4. Love you guys.